I'm dying to find out if this union is real. How about you? Hi guys. Okay, a weird reading. I guess maybe I'm one of those weird people who sometimes wonder about why things are the way they are. Here we have a new president of the US and the first lady, and yet there is something so weird about this whole arrangement. I mean, just let's forget about analyzing it on some kind of logical level, the age difference, they're just not the match. So I decided just to look into tarot cards and see what they say. So that's basically what came in the bottom, kind of the chariot. And Five of Pentacles, this and this. And King of Wands. These are kind of like, I'll do a little bit more because it makes more sense. So I definitely would see at this stage Donald Trump as King of Wands. He's very charismatic. Whether you like him or you don't like him, you kind of listen either to get aggravated or to give him accolades, so that is there. But then this is being kind of like littered with a whole bunch of like strange things. We have the family values are not there, there is like not building consensus, like no ability to kind of like put opposing forces together, and almost like doing this like by severe force. And this is the card that eventually, that's you're going to lose even his allies, because this is kind of interesting card, even though it's not good or bad in either position. But here, somehow you're excluded from the group. So he's excluding himself from a group of people, and he's presenting himself as an outsider, and nothing wrong with that because they're looking for shelter and refuge elsewhere. But when you look at this way, not only they cannot come to that, refuge that they were hoping, but they also, it's kind of interesting because on this side, if you can take a look, the window, and that shows the warmth, is now becoming the door. So even though it will be much easier to enter, not only they're not entering, but right now they're like walking away, and there is no friendship either. So it looks like that this guy doesn't have friends or anybody who basically would really come to his rescue for any other reason, but it is in their interest. So that's the underlying. And also we had over here on the other pile, we had three reverse cards that we keep coming back to the issues and their false starts, which we have already witnessed with things he's doing. He's trying to undo things. There are three branches of government. I don't think he has a basic knowledge of that, and it's coming to him as a shock. And so it looks like, based on these base cards, that he's trying to kind of cross it, but he has to keep coming back to it, and he's kind of like emotional in an extremely angry way. And there'll be false starts which eventually will keep him bored. But I think that more spoke about him, which kind of, he is such a big personality and everything. So in the reading, and this is what kind of like concerns me, I really don't see her very much here, and I question why. So if we go through this whole kind of like gamut, and the starting point here would be what is the base issue in between the two. And these cards kind of like usually reveal a lot in addition to the last and those base cards. Like, this is not a good card. I do not like to see this card in my readings. I mean, I'll give you good and bad feelings over here. So because some people who are Trump supporters will listen to this, and I am not on the fence with him. I absolutely am not, but I am willing to look at both sides of the issue, and hence like not to be domineering or put anybody down. So hence I'm open for discussion. So that's why I'm going to tell you good and bad parts. So here you see someone who's carrying 5 swords out of 2. Well, swords are ideas, and swords are also, let's say, a symbol of nobility. Like, who had swords in those basically times when they were developing these cards? Only like people who were rich, who were considered that they have to be listened. And so somebody taking this away and also swords represent ideas, because whenever they said something, that had to be listened, because they were that important, and you were just a little peon, and you had to basically jump when they said jump. So somebody taking this away, it's basically a thief, but it's a thief of ideas. So it could indicate that between these two, like one person is wronging the other person. There is still some foundation on which they can build, but that's not a strong foundation. Like, on a positive note, you can look at, you're trying to save what you can save. So if you look at her, she's just trying to salvage in this relationship what can work for her and find her refuge, because you see, this is actually coming and standing with the houses and basically standing still, and there is still kind of some kind of connection. But 7 is very imbalanced number, and we have here repetition of 7 just underneath, and somebody who is patiently waiting for the fruits to bear, and wondering why not, and the person just looks tired and exhausted, and and it's like very materialistic cards. Like, it's kind of like it was a vision, an idea that this can work out, but it turned out to be, well, it is kind of working out with all these conditions attached to it, one foot going this way, but you're looking the other way. It's like never a good position to be in. And here, is there a material ground? Like, did I really get this? Is like you plant a seed and then you're waiting for a tree to grow. Lovely, but it's going to take time, and just by looking at it, it's not going to happen. So what qualities need to be developed for this is like interesting, because right now there is not a soft place to fall for either of them. They are not nurturing, even though they are kind of like bridging 2 different worlds together. But temperance came the other way around, which they're telling you not to kind of like interpret it this way, but I always do, because it gives me more insight. And I tried it, and I asked people which one was more accurate, and they always said just go for the card that it looks. Because in this position, the counterpoint, it basically would indicate what kind of spiritual quality this is lacking. And at that point you can kind of like look at the upright meaning. So it is lacking unity. And I think this is what I see when I look at 2 of them. That, like, he's not holding hands with her. He is not opening the door waiting for her. There is no connection. There is certainly no love connection. And this is basically saying, that you have to maybe reconcile the differences and try to find, some kind of like sunshine, something that both can look forward to. Because obviously at some point in the past, there was some kind of nurturing, or she brought to this relationship sort of like ability to kind of like pamper, this kind of like a royalty, and he perceived her that way, as a nurturer, as obviously somebody who he wants to have kids with, and who embodies all this feminine. But at the same time, like, what he didn't count on, that she absolutely is an empress, and I don't see the emperor anywhere in the reading, which actually I'm quite glad not to. But before we get to that card, what it's basically saying here is, just the entire kind of challenge of this union is leaning in this card, and this may or may not happen. And this is not a wise union. It is somebody who's just basically, staying there because it doesn't know anything better. It's a very solitary, lonely card, but like we know good coming out of it. So lesson to learn is basically, again, trying to find what are those tools that you brought to this relationship that kind of like was this nourishment. And also the purpose here was the purpose was to be positive and to be patient. But the question is, like, when you're going through this kind of stuff, how long can you endure it? Well, this is a really promising card. And it could be that because of the presidency that, the whole relationship may shift in a positive way. So let's see what the other cards bring, because this is the card of hope. And, it's also a card of Aquarius, which also rules technology and also rules kind of future. So in terms of relationships, it indicates hope. There is hope. And again, there is nourishment over here, where she's nourishing both soil and water. And being completely naked means, presenting complete truth. So what they're presenting to us in whatever clip we see is really how they are. There is nothing more or nothing less going behind the door. And so here is the essence of their relationship. And when I look at this card, it basically tells me this way it's a really bad heart. It means that you are basically taken down with bad thoughts, that you are disillusioned. Swords are, again, their thoughts, and again we had swords here in the beginning as a base card. Now we have swords again. So the base of this person, of this union, if somebody has 3 swords upright, would be sadness and could be betrayal. This is a 3-party situation. It would be a hard stretch to believe that Donald Trump is faithful. However, this on this end should denote maybe getting out of pain, but I don't see that card that way, because actually I here see what there used to be sky and rain. Now I see that as sort of like pillows. They're almost trying to make this look like acceptable. So wouldn't that be a good metaphor for somebody who is trying to convince themselves that it is okay, and that they can actually live what they have, that they can live with those two because the swords are connected. So even though he is not giving her the majority of the things, are simply not given to a wife what wife should have, and she is accepting it. Generally, who am I to say it? If people it works for 2 people, so be it. But then we continue and see the others and see the real feelings. There is no unity. This whole marriage is a sham. It's absolutely, for this card to come in this position, where here you would see a couple celebrating, it's absolutely the whole city is dancing and it's a fiesta and indicates, well, this is the beginning of the new happy life. Whoa, this is completely different story. Everything is disappearing, everything is collapsing. The emotions are not there, foundation is not there, because number 4 is also a foundation. You would build 4 corners in the house. There is no corners over here, even they are sticking up in the air. And basically, what is their spiritual ideal, and what would they need to overcome to attach the goal, and if there is a goal to even come to. So here we are talking about a really card that's usually interpreted as very nice, as nostalgia. I don't know. I see here a boy giving flowers to a girl. So somebody's obviously bigger and superior and treating somebody as lesser. and there's like lots of emotional content, and I would say, well, she's a little girl, she still doesn't know. And and what the heck would she know in this situation? And this way, we are talking about bad memories. We are talking about accumulation of things that didn't pan out. The structure is like falling apart, and you and they probably have more negative interactions than positive. And yet, so let's see the last one, the last card. Look, this cannot be more symbolic than it is of that relationship. We again coming with number 4. So isn't this interesting? We have 7s and we have 4. 7s cannot indicate bigger instability, and 4s indicate stability, but this 4 is like reversed, and this 4 is not a good 4. So I see instability everywhere but in these 2 cards, which is the Empress and the Star. And I think this is the guiding light for them, that nourishment and sort of like tools and things from the past and hope for the future. And this is what is showing maybe in who he is, that he has this hope for the future, but it's not founded on much. So what would be basically the fulfillment, not to say outcome, the fulfillment? So what is the real idea? Because this card, funny enough, usually starts connecting with the first card, and usually connects with the cards that we kind of like reviewed over there, right? But like, let's not for now look into that, because we here had also broken home and we had him standing there. Let's for a moment just basically remove ourselves from all these thoughts, and even just like remove this card. So let's think about that card. We have a person here who is completely covering his heart chakra. There is no love in this relationship. It is all entirely about money. Money under the feet, the gold tower, the heart is made out of money, and I want a crown, I want to be the king. Isn't that what we're actually experiencing these days as well? And look what we are seeing behind. Like, it's this basically towers. Like, I mean, Ivanka was doing this big speech during the Republican convention, and she was saying, well, my father built the city. It was an amazing speech, I have to say. And this is pretty much what we are seeing, the whole bunch of buildings, this real estate, and holding so tight to it. So now if this is applying to 2 of them, it shows somebody being very guarded, not involving the heart. And again, if you didn't even start properly, how can you end properly? It's somebody who is starting on a really bad note, and ending on a very reserved note. In between, it was lots of disasters, like bad things happening. So we'll never know what's going on, but the tarot cards are telling me that this is union built on previous beliefs of nurturing, because he believes she's nurturing him and she believes he's nurturing her. There is this eternal hope, and I think I would believe that both of them are air signs. I'm not exactly sure which sign she is, but I think he's Gemini. So that can actually represent their union, or this can also represent how they want to come across as people, as in the public, as this perfect couple, as something that maybe does not exist, because stars are elusive, and sometimes the stars that we see are not even the stars that exist, because by the time that we see their light, they're real long gone. So let me see what is this star all about. I really want to see on these 2 positive cards clarifications. Boo. Okay, that star is not going to shine very long. Big things are happening and they're not going to be good. And let's see the Empress. And again, I guess it was a hope of nurturing. So now we see a couple over here. There is a couple the same colors, but he was never in with 2 feet. He was always having his own interest in this whole situation. So yeah, I know that she's probably trying to make out something out of it, but it looks like at any effort, at best, is only going to reap financial rewards, and even those are not going to be great. So that's my take on Donnie and Mal. So guys, what do you think? Did tarot reveal anything, or did you see something that I didn't? Please let me know, and please subscribe and like these videos, and see you again.